and welcome back to Liliana's Legends. Today I'm going to be covering the grading sheets a little more in depth. I gave a brief rundown the other day, but right now is the perfect time because I'm working on a couple different games. First off, we have the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. We have a centering. So for these sheets for centering, what you do is you line up the card. Yu-Gi-Oh is going to be the pink like it says up here. You line it up with the innermost of the two pink lines here, or any two as long as it's top, bottom, and a side. So that it's the innermost one and anything. So for top to bottom, the centering is great. It's just on the top inner line, just on the bottom inner line. Now the left to right, you have it on the inner line here, but then over here, you have it on the outer of the two lines. Anytime that you run into it hitting that outer line, it is a defect. It's a printing error, but it's still considered defective and it's damaged. Now, the next one, since I actually have two foils here, would be best, or foil and a hollow, to show you would be the scratching. It's easier to see on the foils. This one, as you can tell, I just pulled this out of pack last night. There is no scratching on it whatsoever. While this Railu level 7, right down the center of his face, right where his nose is, if I can get the light to hit it just right, or even down here you can see there's a scratch. The scratch one, we have a couple different scales to measure off of. You have the near mint, light played, moderate, and heavily. If it's minor, it's going to be near and light mint, which will be this yellow line. Moderate, or it's going to be minor damage. Slight doesn't affect point-wise. Sorry about that. I'm actually pulling up the chart on my computer that tells me the point structure. So slight would end up being 1 point. Minor is going to be 2 points. So let's find that one of those scratches again. Let's line it up. So put it at the top of it, and it goes down, but it doesn't quite leave slight, so that scratch would give it 1 point. But then this other one, it starts all the way up here, and it keeps going all the way down through minor. It doesn't quite make it to moderate, so this would give it 2 points give the card 2 points automatically, or 1 point for the minor, or for the slight, and then it gives it 2 points for the moderate scratch. There are more scratches on it, but they're all so negligible that scratching doesn't quite work for it. What would be best for the others would be the surface wear. So that's going to be a large amount of surface wear. So it's major surface wear. And major does not have an option on here, but a major marking like that is going to be worth 8 points. So as of right now, we are at 11 points just on this one card. And that 11 points takes it up into moderately played, almost into heavily played. But if you go based off of the minor, major, moderate scaling, the major surface wear will actually automatically put it into damaged, it looks like. But based off the point structure, it doesn't make it there, so it becomes very subjective on what to do. Now the last one I have is going to be this angelic one. and it's going to be edge, and for this one I'm going to do edge wear. If you look at it, there's a little bit of whiting on the edges on the front and back. It's a little easier to see on the back of the card because of this dot here, that there, and some over on the left hand side. Now what you're going to do is you're going to line up the card in the center. You're going to look for that edge wear, so you can see it's going down through slight, minor, moderate, major. So this one on its own already is starting out with 8 points just for that, which already takes it out of near mint, out of light played, straight into moderately played. While this, the Pokemon card, the best way to do it would be on the back. And if you look at the corners, you can see wear on the corners, a little bit of wear right down here on the side. So that, it's going to go straight around the card all the way into major, which adds another 8 points, giving us a total of 19 points, which takes us automatically into heavily played right there. And also on this card you have a bend on the corner. So for the bends, there's this sheet which goes minor, moderate, major. Near mint cannot have any bends, so you'd have to line it up with the start of it. It doesn't make it out of minor, so for that, it's going to have another 2 points added to it, so that gives 21 points on the card. There's also curling, but it has to be a 5mm gap when the card is laid flat. It doesn't. This one is a little hard to use. It's when the card's laid flat. It doesn't. There's no explanation on how to use this one, sadly, so I really can't give much on it. Next you have faults. And the faults are going to be stuff that's like a split, tags, flaps, rippling, that kind of stuff, peeling, fraying, which none of these cards have, so can't really do anything for it. You have scuffing, which is like clouding, bend and sleeve gloss, buffing, which you really can't tell on any of these if any of them have them, so it makes it a little harder. You have defects, which are going to be inking, crimping, miscuts, centering, all that kind of stuff. The only one that doesn't get, that the defects won't get used for, would be the centering, due to having the centering chart already. So let's actually go and see how well this one is centered. Lining it all up. Line matches top, line matches side, line matches bottom. It goes a little over, but that's not considered a defect since it's not touching that thicker outer blue line. The defects, though: blurring, crimping, errors, shifted. Let's look at the back, because when you're doing the centering, you also want to do the back of the card, because that can also affect the condition the card is in. But it looks like the back's pretty well centered, according to this printout. But looking at the card myself, I wouldn't say it's centered, because it's a little more than what I'd like. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered, but I would not consider that centered myself, just because of the size difference of the border on the front and the back. So let's move on to the grime on this card. On the front, I really don't see much grime. On the back, there's a little, and grime's going to be the stuff like dirt and just play dirt. If I line it up, it's a little over slight, but I wouldn't quite consider 2 or 3 little tiny dots moderate because of the size of the moderate square. It doesn't quite justify a dot that's right there, a dot that's here. That doesn't justify to me moderate, but if we're following what TcgPlayer says and all, it would be moderate, which would give it another 4 points, which gives it 25, which automatically puts the card into damage. But since I have one more here, indentations, it's going to be anything that dents the card. It causes dings, fingernail marks, that kind of stuff. So let's look at this really quick, see if there's any indentations in the back. There's a lot of scuffing. Sometimes it's hard to tell indentations from scuffs on cards, because some scuffs can be deeper while others are more shallow. Now, the magic card doesn't have any indentations either. Let me go ahead and reach over here, see if I can find a card that might have an indentation. Let's see if we can find any indentations. These are all cards I still have to go through. All of these will probably be marked as heavily played, damaged, like this one is a great example of one that's just, you don't even need to use the charts, these little charts for figuring out if this one's going to be damaged, because on the front, just right there, you can see right across the center, there's creasing. It doesn't go all the way through to the back, but then all right here from there down, you can see all of those creases. You flip it over, you can see them even more prominently. There's some waving on the back of the card. That's just automatically damaged for that toe tick. But as far as indentations go, I don't find them very often. Occasionally, I will find one, or I'm going through and I accidentally drop something and it dents the card. This Lickitung seems to have a few, though. So on this Lickitung, if you look right over here, there's some indentations from like fingernails. Right there, the light's hitting it right now. You can see too. So what you do for those indentations, they don't go all the way through to the back. And it does state right here on this, it cannot show through to the other side. If it shows through to the other side, it's automatically moderate or major. But those indentations, from the sizing of them, they're major, so that would be 8 points right there. That will knock it down immediately to moderately played. Because for near mint, you cannot have any more than 3 points. Lightly played, 6 points. Moderate is 12. Heavily played is going to be 24. And damaged is just, if you can look at the card and know it's going to be damaged. But it's any severe faults, any of that kind of stuff. Or anything above 24 points. But of course, with all of this, if you don't feel comfortable with the card yourself, if you wouldn't consider it heavily played and you consider it damaged, or if you would consider it damaged but this says it's moderate played, go with what your standards are. If your standards would put it in a worse condition, save yourself the time and hassle of an argument later on down the road, because if you sell on TcgPlayer, more than likely they will side with the customer than you. So if you have any more questions about these, you want me to do some more demonstrations, pull out cards that go from light played all the way through to damaged, I would be more than glad to make a video about that. I do plan on doing box openings soon, and I will be using these for all of these little charts for higher value cards that I pull in those box openings, so that you guys can know, okay, he pulled this card. And if these say, even though I pulled it out live on camera and these say it's damaged or moderately played or whatever, that's what I go off of. Unless if I can clearly tell that I'm not comfortable with what they say because I think it's in a worse condition, I'm going to make it so that it matches what I think. Unless if TcgPlayer does say it is worse than what I think. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you could, down in the comments, post what you would like to see me do. If there's any TCG you'd like to see me do a box opening for, let me know. Thank you.